Ready to go? Ready to do this?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's do this. I am JP Maxwell.
And I'm John Badrick.
Here to do the sports once again. Of course, the local touch with the St. Louis Cardinals. Yeah, the last couple days have kind of been bad. They're on a current two-game losing streak, and the Giants have done pretty well against us here recently. Yesterday they won 8-2, taking the third and final game of the weekend series against the Cardinals there at Busch Stadium. And Braden Looper getting a little roughed up, did not look so good. Really only had one bad inning, but that bad inning resulted in 6 runs. And after that, strength.
No offense. I'm pretty good. I like the Cardinals, I really do. And I think Looper's pretty good. But as far as just being roughed up and having a bad inning, no, he had a horrible inning, and he got totally just...
Well, basically, yeah. I mean, that's what it's come down to. I mean, the Giants had 6 consecutive hits at one point in the inning. Braden Looper is one of those where last year, whenever he was really on, he had like an ERA of around 1.5, but whenever he was off, the ERA was more like around 7. That's a lot of difference there. Of course, Mark Mulder actually had a session where he threw against the Cardinals AAA team or AA team in Springfield. 5 innings. 3 walks, only 1 hit, no runs. So Mark Mulder actually might be very, very close to coming back.
Might be getting.
And Looper might be the one going out of the rotation, either him or Pinero. My guess is probably one of them that's going to be going down if he comes back. The big hurt Frank Thomas. This is one of my favorite players in the history of the game. I've always liked Frank Thomas. Signed that 3-year contract with the Blue Jays just last offseason, and was released yesterday by the Blue Jays.
Yeah, I heard that.
That
was pretty big news. Frank Thomas, he's not just some throw-around player.
No.
He's
516 career home runs. He's up there.
Up there. He's way up there.
He's a really good hitter.
Yeah, and for the Blue Jays to just release him.
Well, they said it was mutual consent, but basically this is what I got out of the story was, when he signed his contract, they had to put in that if he reached about 400 at-bats this season, his option for next year would automatically kick in at $10 million. Well, he said that the reason he wasn't getting at-bats lately was because the Blue Jays didn't want him to get that $10 million. The team saying no is because you were just sucking, basically. So they just mutually consented and got a buyout deal on the contract is with the details of it. And so he's looking for work, and I don't think he'll be looking for too long. I think somebody's going to pick him up.
I think somebody will.
Probably rather quickly. Probably most likely an American League team because he'll probably be DHing or maybe first base.
Designated hitter.
That's about all he's worth anymore. But as far as fielding, but hitting, still hit. To the NBA, the playoffs are going, and a couple of games were kind of surprised. The Spurs actually won Game 1 over the Suns. It was a close game. Spurs ended up winning by 2 points, and how they won? They got to overtime by Tim Duncan nailing the 3-pointer. Tim Duncan, he's a good player, but he is not a 3-point shooter, but he nailed one with like 1 second left in overtime. And the Spurs end up winning that one by 2 points. And the Detroit Pistons lost in Game 1 to the Philadelphia 76ers. At one point in the game, they were actually leading by 15 points, and they could not hold it. Andre Iguodala had 20 points for
just because you're the top team, and you're favored, it doesn't really matter.
No, I think
what happened
in
this first game for the Pistons definitely is that they went in too cocky,
probably,
and just underestimated the 76ers, and the 76ers just took advantage of it and just handed them the game on a silver platter.
The Pistons being the number 2 seed and the Sixers being a 7 seed, you would figure the Pistons would have the upper hand, but. Now with this win, they took home court advantage right away from the Pistons. This is a whole new series, and who knows? I mean, it's going to be interesting to watch that one finish out. And
on to the NHL playoffs. Yes, unfortunately, first series to report on is Detroit managed to win their first round series 4-2. They won Game 6 there, 3-0 shutout.
And here's the bad part. They're good.
Here's the really bad part. If you didn't know this, if you're just tuning in, the Red Wings are a good team.
Which they never are. Just kidding. They're always good. At least the Stars, we can agree that we actually like this team.
Yeah, they're
4-1 win over Anaheim, and they take the series there. And Stars look pretty good too. Maybe they can take off the Red Wings.
Definitely. The Stars were one of the teams coming into the playoffs that were on a roll.
Yeah.
And here they are, and they beat Anaheim, which honestly, they were the higher seed than Anaheim, but Anaheim is a pretty good team. So to bounce them out in 5 games is saying something pretty. The Ducks were the defending champions last year, and they kept pretty much the same team. They added a few players, lost a few players, but other than that, they're still
pretty
a good
much
team.
Same team,
and
really.
Dallas just took them right out.
Well, Marty Turco looked like he's been having a really good series for Dallas. He looks strong and net.
Turco does look strong, and that's one thing about Turco. He'll have an okay season, but when he gets to playoffs, he's usually on fire.
And with Anaheim losing, like you said, they're defending Cup champions. That's the 5th consecutive defending Cup champion to lose the following season after they win the Stanley Cup.
That's why the NHL.
So actually,
they always
it's a bad thing to be the defending champions if you want to repeat, because it ain't going to happen.
Stanley Cup's the hardest trophy in all of sports to win, because you got to win 16 games in the playoffs, and it's really hard to do. Especially really hard to repeat. It really is.
And the Avalanche, they went ahead and won 2-1 over the Wild, so they're going to move on to the second round. I actually thought the Wild had a good chance to knock out the Avalanche.
You know what? Actually, I had this series in my picks going to 7 games. I had Colorado winning, but it really wouldn't have surprised me if it went to 7 games and Minnesota would have won. Because Minnesota is a good team. They've got some very talented players on that team, like, for instance, Pavel Demitra, the former Blue.
Yep.
But the fact that the Avalanche just stepped up their game really good here in that first round, they just took out the Wild. Didn't really have too much of a problem with them.
Yeah, they're looking pretty good again. Of course, that's another team that we always don't like. The Caps, they avoid elimination by defeating the Flyers 3-2 in Game 5. So now, of course, the Flyers still lead that series 3-2. Caps will again be facing elimination in Game 6. Ovechkin, is he going to be able to help the team survive again? I don't know.
The
Flyers are a pretty solid team.
I think the Flyers, exactly. I think the Flyers are a solid team, and the Caps, unfortunately, just pretty much bank on Alexander Ovechkin.
I think what's going to happen is I think the Caps will probably win Game 6, but I think the Flyers will end up taking it.
I think, I could see the Caps winning just one more game. I kind of doubt it. I think the Flyers are going to go ahead and finish this series off. They want to. I know they do. Last thing they want to do is get too tired, playing in a series like this, and then come to the second round, not really rested up, So I think they'll definitely step it up in Game 6 and probably go ahead and knock out the Caps.
And then you have the Bruins and the Canadians. Did you see
this
recent game?
Oh, that was an amazing game.
It was crazy. Just going back and forth. That's the way hockey should be.
It was.
One team scored, the other one come down and score.
It was just switching. Nobody really had a clear lead to begin with from start to finish. And the Bruins just managed to go ahead and hold off the Canadians pretty much at the last second. And the fact that, here they are. Now, they've come back and they've tied this series up. They're going into Game 7. Yeah. Never saw this coming. I would have bet all my money on it that Montreal was going to beat the Bruins in 5 games at most.
Well, and then even on ESPN, Barry Melrose, a very well-known hockey analyst, he's sitting there just he doesn't know how it's happened, and he said basically the Canadians now, here's this team that's rich in tradition, one of the 6 originals. They've got all these Stanley Cup victories, and then they've got on this long stretch of not good hockey. They finally come back this year, have a competitive team, the number 1 seed in the East.
Arguably,
and they might lose to the 8th seed.
Arguably, probably the best team in the NHL right now. You got San Jose and Detroit in the West, but a lot of people were picking the Canadians to win the Stanley Cup,
or at least represent the Eastern Conference in the Stanley Cup Finals.
And here they are, as you said. The first couple of games they went out ahead, way ahead against Boston, and now Boston has slugged its way back into this, has gone to Game 7. I cannot believe it.
Here's the thing. I like the Canadians. I like to see them win, but part of me wants to see the upset.
Yeah,
because the way Boston's come back and played, they deserve it.
Exactly. When a number 8 seed takes on a number 1 seed, and then they actually somehow come out with a victory, that's pretty cool. It doesn't happen all the time.
So let alone 3 of them and a chance to win the whole series. Pretty impressive. And, of course, the NHL and NBA playoffs will continue. We're going to have continuing coverage as that one goes until we have a champion crowning both. Be coming up within the next couple of weeks. And then the Blues will be making their draft pick high one again. I believe it's number 4 this year.
Yeah, number 4 pick for the Blues. That's not too bad. At the same time, I'm kind of getting tired of not having any playoff tickets.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
Yeah.
NHL playoffs aren't the same,
without the Blues.
Yeah. So, anyway, this is going to wrap up sports, I guess. This has been JP Maxwell.
And I'm John Battery.
We'll see you next time.